Hi, today I wanted to share with you this how to present yourself in front of people, especially like interview situation, like when you want to get a job or you want to sell something, for instance, but then more towards if you really wanted to collaborate with somebody and want people to work with you. And if you are successful in that, you could change the trajectory of life tremendously. And is one of very, very important skills to have, like how to present yourself, how to get a good impression, and want people to work with you. So what is the skills that are really you need to do this? First of all, you have to really know who you're talking to, for instance, like a company or somebody who needs what they need. So you don't want to just go blind. You got to prepare. And when you prepare, you understand that your skill level, your talent, your temperament will actually fulfill their needs. And this is very important. You don't want to work for something that is completely off of your skills. And many people make mistake is precisely that, right? Like it means when somebody's not really looking for the particular skills, but then you are submitting your resume just for the sake, and it's not really good for you, even if you get it, because you're gonna struggle. And of course, like the employer would likely not really impressed by those skills. Maybe you might have a really great skills, but it's not what particularly needed for the job. So just making sure that you prepare your skills, talents, or temperament are all aligned to their vision. So you have to really research the other side. And if you have lack of a little bit of like a rusty skill, make sure you prepare so that you're always on the top notch. Not preparing this type of stuff is always a red flag for employer, just because you are very complacent, so to speak. Like your attitude is very much, if you're not preparing, like if you keep working on some kind of project and your skill set is up to the par, you don't have to, of course. But unless it's very rare, the employer wants like certain things, and then generally speaking, you lack something. So you really have to fill the gap between these, and then you generally have to prepare for it. Now, the second thing is you have to have a good attitude. What does that mean by that is people want to work with somebody who can be friends with, like hang out, spend a long time, right? Like you're going to spend a lot of time so together and working. So they want to have a right kind of match. And so in general, what are they looking for? People are looking for somebody that have a growth mindset. They don't want somebody that's negative, right? And it's somebody who doesn't want to give them a trouble. Like, okay, so history of complaining, history of like suing employer or any of those, that kind of stuff. If you have this type of behavior, immediately it's just better to walk away, in a good situation. If you had that type of situation, even if you get really mad about previous employer, why you waste time complaining? They're not going to change anyways. And then if you try to go the legal way, that's going to be on your history. And in the long term, generally speaking, it doesn't really do you any good. And then it creates some sort of like attitude that you somehow like you're better than almost like than an employer. And who really wants to work with that type of attitude, right? So it's a kind of, because like employer is something that needs your skills, but at the same time they need you to really learn. So it requires some kind of humility, and also like the attitude of selflessness. This is very important. A lot of times people come in and all they talk about is what they want. Like, okay, I want something out of your company because of my schedule is great with your company. At the end of the day, company don't give a shit, right? Means it's like, if the company is good, they will be reasonable, so to speak. But their goal is to get things done, products or services, as best way as possible. So either you're going to fit into that type of mentality, or it is really difficult unless it's a probably government job or something a little more like stable, especially private sector, like a lot of competition. Generally, that type of attitude would not last or would not get accepted. So now another important thing is the present, like your appearance. A lot of people might think like, okay, I have a lot to offer in like skills, talent, and that's generally so. But unless you have such a genius level that nobody can really replace you, then people rather work with somebody who has a good hygiene, good style, sense of like good communication skills and so forth, and a very pleasant to be around. Nobody wants to work with somebody with a stinky breath or like odor or too much perfume or like something that bothers you. And then going back to the same idea that you got, once start working, we have to spend quite a lot of time. So everybody wanted to, be in a certain set of standards. So making sure that's taken care of it. It's very important. So anything strange, anything, like you might think it's rebellious and cool, get rid of those, right? So if you want to work in a kind of like a little serious things or, not a kind of the rebellious cultural things like too much piercing or the like tattoo over those things, generally speaking, it doesn't work. So another thing, important thing is it's kind of connected to the attitude, but that you really need to show effort that you really want this job. Because so how are you going to do that? It is to show being prepared. That's we already talked about it. And then when you are interviewing, like maybe take notes or show that then you that's really count. People are people. They'll appreciate how much you put in to come here and thoughtfulness of it. So making sure that you cover all this and the preparation. Another thing is like a lot of times like a referral is actually extremely important. If you know somebody, like somebody that they really they know from somebody that they know. So if you know somebody inside and you have to be very close, otherwise it's kind of bullshit. But then if you're like a friend working in a company and he knows you very well, like years, and then know your character and stuff, referral really helps. Because that always that the people who like employer who wanted to work with is really concerned about your character, like how in the long term, how you're gonna behave, and it's very limited time to know actually your strength or weakness. So if somebody inside is a vet on your ability and a character, that would be very strong. So yeah, look for that. That's kind of the part of preparation. So if you get really stuck in the career, it's just like, okay, nobody's hiring me or nobody want to work with me or something, then just check the list that I mentioned. And if you do that, not just the interview situation, but the presentation itself to the world. So you're going to be more social, more confident in front of other people. And then you know that a lot of things in this world is not just your ability or talent, but the subtle things that affect each other's relationship, because everybody wants to get along. And then you want to work with somebody that you like and admire. And if you do that, your life is going to be a lot better.